First, let me start out by saying I want to extend my sympathies again to the DuBose family, whose grief is obviously going to be prolonged by this hung jury. My belief is still that Sam DuBose did not deserve to lose his life, and I believe that there should be and that a just outcome would lead to accountability for that fact. I want to congratulate Prosecutor Joe Deters for bringing a strong case, and I believe keeping a clear moral compass throughout this entire situation. It is my hope that Prosecutor Deters will retry the case. And I think it's important to point out that this case is not over. I think we've learned throughout this process how deeply Prosecutor Deters feels about the case and about what is right and what is wrong. So I expect that he will look to continue to find a way to bring justice to this case, and he's promised a thorough examination by November 28th. And I think we should allow that process to continue. Anyone can doubt, given the actions and statements of Prosecutor Deters over the last year, how serious he is about pursuing and continuing to pursue this case. Regardless of that fact, it is undoubtedly the case that people are upset. The family of the DuBose family, as well as others who just want to see justice in general. And we respect everyone's right to be upset. This is America, and people have the right of First Amendment, free speech, to protest, and candidly, there's a lot of reason for people to be upset, and we respect that. I do think it's important to point out a couple of facts. One is that this whole incident was not, I repeat, was not a Cincinnati Police Department officer. Our police department, of course, is not perfect, but has been held up by Loretta Lynch as one of the best in the country for police community relations, Loretta Lynch being the Attorney General of the United States. And we are committed to community policing. We are committed to all the reforms that we have made over the last 15 years. And I hope that as this is reported, it's important to point out that this incident was not caused by a Cincinnati police officer. And I think it's only fair for us to point that out. I also want to send the message that in addition to saying that this case isn't over, that there's every reason to believe, as has been the case, that the protests, which are justified, will continue to be peaceful, as they have been. And so, you know, downtown is safe, Over the Rhine is safe. I will be having lunch downtown. I'll probably jump on the streetcar and head to Findlay Market for lunch. My wife and I are going to have dinner downtown this evening, and we intend to be around and visible, and the city will continue. And we just ask everybody to allow the process to continue. Other than that, I'd like to just turn it over to the city manager for a few statements, and then we can take some questions and then go on with the rest of the day.
Well, not a whole lot to add other than what the mayor has already stated. Again, our feelings go out to the DuBose family. We also commend the prosecutor for aggressively pursuing this matter. We understand that this is an emotional situation. People will need to be able to express those emotions. We are prepared to support that because it's all about constitutional right in terms of assembly and expression. However, we also have a responsibility to make certain that we make it safe for people and property. But so far, all of the protests have been very peaceful, have been very constructive. We expect and anticipate that that will continue. But we are prepared to support that assembly and expression while at the same time making certain that the city remains as safe as possible. Did you want to add anything to that, Chief?
Again, to echo what you heard from the mayor and the manager. I offer my deepest condolences to the Bowles family as well. I certainly support the efforts of the prosecutor and their efforts in this. Like so many others, I'm also disappointed in the outcome, but I know there's many questions about what happens next. We'll continue to support the process. We do have additional staffing personnel just to support the efforts. I know there will be people expressing their concerns and their disappointment in this as well. Our primary goal is just to ensure that everyone is safe, and I think you'll see that's what we do.
We'll take a couple of questions if there are any.
I also want to point out that we're joined by Councilmember Smitherman, who's Chairman of Law and Public Safety, and I see our colleague P.G. Sittenfeld. We're glad both of them are here. I don't know if you wanted to add anything or
Questions?
Chief, I think we had heard yesterday the department was kind of on an all-hands-on-deck situation. Is that continuing through the weekend?
I wouldn't quite call it an all hands on deck, but like I mentioned, we have brought in additional staffing, and we'll continue to monitor as needed, just to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to express themselves and things continue as safe as possible.
Have you all been in touch maybe with some of the leaders of some of these protest groups, just to maybe discuss with them, like, hey, we want you guys to do your thing, but we do need it to be peaceful?
I've communicated with Bishop Bobby Hilton in the last 20 minutes, and he is obviously very upset, but he is committed to us that, as he has done for so many years, commit to peaceful protests. But understandably, they're very upset, and they will continue to express their disappointment, extreme disappointment, and a lack of a verdict. But they also are going to call, as I've called, for a retrial. And so, we are, I think, blessed as a community to have civil rights leaders who aren't going to back away from what they believe is right, but also believe in doing so peacefully, and he is committed to that.
You're an attorney, so I have a question for you. Do you think that there should have been a lesser included offense, maybe a reckless homicide attached to, or added on at the end, potentially to ensure maybe a conviction? Or
When I became mayor, I stopped actively practicing law, so I do have a law degree, but I don't want to second guess or all that. I believe that the prosecution brought a good case. I believe justice involves holding Sam DuBose accountable. Ray Tensing accountable for his actions, and whether that is the existing indictments or a different indictment, I think is something for the prosecutor to determine. And I trust, and I've talked to the prosecutor many times over the last year, that he believes that an injustice occurred and that there should be accountability. And he made a case for murder and manslaughter, and if he wants to bring a new indictment with other charges, that's a decision he can make, and I trust that he'll make it with the goal of bringing justice and finality to this case.
you said if there was a retrial, it would cost over $1 million. Do you think that may come into play when deciding whether to retry Ray Tensing?
I really, that's a decision for the county to make. As I've stated, I hope they will retry him, and I think, as Angela pointed out, they can look at other charges. And I have every reason to believe, based on personal conversations as well as the public statements of the prosecutor, that he still believes that something, an injustice has occurred that needs to be fixed. And so I think it's important for everyone to remember that this is not over. This is not over. The judicial process is not over. And I know that many of us are asking the prosecutor to keep working on this case, and I believe he will.
Barry, you said you're going out tonight on the town. We've heard a lot of people who said, hey, I'm not going anywhere near downtown. On Friday, we had businesses closing down. Had one city official say that she thought that was excessive. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm going to leave this press conference and go have lunch. I'm going to get on the streetcar, go to Findlay Market. My wife and I are going to come down for dinner tonight. Downtown is safe. This city is safe. We're going to get through this. I have full confidence in Chief Isaac and their plan. And remember that this process is not over. That's not to make, light of the fact that people are going to be very angry and upset about what's happened. And they have every right to express their First Amendment rights, and they will do so peacefully, as they have throughout this process. So I will be downtown, my wife and I will be downtown, and Cincinnati is safe and open for business, and I would encourage the business community of Cincinnati to stay safe and open.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so we've been listening to city leaders just react to the hung jury in the Ray Tenzing murder trial. Of course, they wanted to reiterate, of course, we heard from Mayor John Cranley there that Ray Tenzing was not a Cincinnati city police officer. He was employed by the University of Cincinnati, and they all expressed sympathy to the DuBose family.
Absolutely, and the mayor ended it on the downtown is safe, and all agreed, not only expressing condolences, but all agreed that everyone has a right to protest. It's the city's job, however, to make sure that it's peaceful.
Right, and he encouraged business owners to stay open. He has full confidence in Chief Isaac and his officers to protect the city and to make sure that everyone peacefully protests if they feel the need to do so.
You have been watching our live coverage of the Ray Tenzing case and the decision today by the jury that they could not come to a decision. It is a hung jury. Judge Megan Shanahan decided that taking their lack of being able to come to a decision and dismissed the jury.
So we're going to